Hey, Mike from BlindsOnline.com, and I'm going to show you how to install your 3/8 inch double cell light filtering cellular shade that you just received. Once the shade is out of the box, it'll look something like this. Your cord will be wrapped around the shade, and we just simply unravel the cord from the shade. Nice and easy. And once the cord is unraveled, you'll have access to the new shade. Just to show you a little bit about our double cell light filtering shades, and yeah, we call it double cell because it has actually two cells side by side. These are also known as honeycombs. The back side of the shade, always white to the street side, so this is the side that's going to face the outside of your house, and the reason we do that is for color uniformity. So if you decide you want green in one window and you want blue in another window, when you pull up to the front of your house, it'll look nice and clean. It'll all be white. You won't see green in one window, blue in another, red in another. And that's the whole idea behind the white to the street side. Okay, we do offer our shades with a heavy-duty aluminum head rail, which is the top rail and bottom rail. And those are painted to match the color of your shades. And we supply each shade with a heavy-duty cord lock to give you many years of use. Okay, so once you have your shade unraveled, just place the shade aside and grab the mounting brackets. Now, the mounting brackets do come packaged with every shade. This is what the mounting brackets look like right here. Okay, and these are what we call universal mounting brackets. These brackets can be used for either an inside mount or an outside mount. So the brackets will look the same regardless of how you're going to mount the shade. All right, so once you've located your mounting brackets, it's always easier to install if you have a screw gun handy. Screw gun always comes in handy. The screws will come with the shade, so you'll see that we've packaged some screws along with the shades and the mounting brackets. Now, the first type of installation that we're going to go through is what we call an inside mount, and that's when the shade is mounted inside the window frame. Okay, so if you have enough window depth and you've decided to put your shades inside the frame, we'll take the mounting bracket, okay, and we'll place it up into the inside of the frame. Okay, we want the little pointy side facing out and the Phillips head screw facing down toward the bottom of the window. All right, now once you've managed to place this where you want it, and I like to mount the brackets as far forward. If the window is deeper, you can always mount it deeper if you prefer, but I like to mount it forward. You just place the screw in the little slot and screw it straight up into the frame of the window, just like that. Okay, once you have that bracket in place, and just make sure the bracket's good and straight. All right, we want to make sure that's good and straight. We'll put the other bracket the same way, also inside the frame, and we'll screw straight up into the frame. Okay. Alrighty, so once you have your two brackets mounted, we're going to grab that shade, and we're going to release the shade just a couple inches, bring it down a couple inches. The reason we do that is so that some of the fabric doesn't get caught into the bracket when you're actually placing the shade in the bracket. We've had that happen in the past where sometimes the fabric gets pinched inside the bracket and the shade looks funny when you lower the shade. Alright, so we'll lower the shade a few inches. We'll take the shade, bring it up to the window. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to take the very pointy side of that bracket right here, and we're going to insert it into the little groove that's on the top of the head rail. Okay, so that's our next step. We're going to put the pointy part of the bracket into the groove on each side. All right, we're going to hold it in place and look at the shade. We want to slide it a little bit from side to side so that we have an even overlap, an even space, I should say, on each side. Once we see that, that's where we want the shade. Just give the shade a little pop on each side with the butt of your hand, and that'll actually snap the shade into the brackets. Okay. Now, for some extra security, we ask that you take a Phillips head screwdriver and just tighten up on these brackets a little bit. We want to make sure that it's a secure mount. So lift the shade up, look up underneath the shade, and you'll see those Phillips head screws that we talked about earlier. Okay, we want to tighten down on those screws good and tight. We want to make those screws good and tight, so that's going to secure the rail, that top rail, in place so it doesn't fall out and bop someone on the head. Okay, so now that we have those screws good and tight, the shade is basically done. Okay. Now that the shade is installed, you can release the shade by moving the cord to the left. That'll release the cord lock. Lower the shade, and you're finished. Now you can raise the shade, lock the cord lock by moving it to the right, unlock by moving it to the left. Okay. Now enclosed with the shade and the hardware, we'll also put in a cord cleat. Okay, the cord cleat is meant to keep the cord out of reach of young children and pets. Okay, so that when you raise the shade and the cord tends to get a little bit long, you can always hang the cord up on the cord cleat and just keep it out of reach of young children and pets. All right, so that's what we recommend. You can either mount that cord cleat right onto the molding, or you can move it off to the side of the molding if you prefer. Whatever you decide is fine. All right, so now that we've gone through how to mount an inside mount shade, I'd just like to briefly go through how you would mount the shade if it were an outside mount. Okay, the outside mount shade can be mounted one of two ways. We can either mount that shade directly to the window trim, okay, in which case you would take that same mounting bracket, okay, and screw it directly into the window trim. Now, yes, we've used Velcro just to make things a little bit easier, but in your case, you'd hold the bracket in place and just put 2 screws into the bracket directly into the window molding. Okay, that would secure your bracket if you choose to mount it right to the molding. Now, if you chose to mount the shade up above the molding, okay, then you would take the same mounting bracket plus 1 spacer block. Now, these spacer blocks are available at checkout at no additional cost, so we do suggest that you order these if this is how you want to mount your shade. Take the mounting bracket, place it on the spacer block, and then put the whole kit and caboodle just up above the window molding like that. Okay, and again, 2 screws directly through the bracket, through the spacer, into the wall, and that'll secure the bracket to the wall. Okay, so that's how you'll mount your shade if you've decided to go with an outside mount. Again, I'm Mike from BlindsOnline.com. If you have any other questions, feel free to call anytime, and thanks for watching.